Hi everybody, Jo here. You know what that means? Time to grab yourself a brew, cheeky biscuit. Although, like I do say, it depends what time it is. Is it morning? Or is it evening? Are you having that nice hot chocolate before bed? Whatever you're drinking, whatever you're eating, come on in, pull up a chair and let's have a catch up. How have you been doing? How are things? I hope you've had a good week. Things are okay here, I think. Mind you, sometimes I don't even know what day it is. I don't know if that's just me. Today, I had a lovely comment from Steph Price asking if I could do a masculine type card. So what I thought is I've come up with these two designs using Lavinia Stamps, and what I think is nice, quick, clean and simple, but ideal for male cards, but not the obvious. We tend to use brown a lot for male cards, and I just thought it's nice to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to show you these. But speaking of brown, I've got a card that we've just done a workshop, funny enough, with the ladies for masculine cards. And one of the subjects we covered was split scene stamping. So, I mean, and again, this is really quick and easy. So Lavinia trees, a nice background. You make it as one scene and then just cut it into three uneven. You could do three the same and it would look like a triptych, but because we've got different sizes, it's just much better for split scene stamping. So that's great for men's cards. Again, something just a bit different. I think it's nice to almost give masculine cards a bit of a nice feel, left without a sentiment, but room should you wish to stamp one. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with this card. And I have to say, thank you for all your lovely comments. I do read them. And Polly Dale left a lovely comment saying, how did I keep my hands clean? Well, I've got to be honest, if you notice, I'm always over cleaning my stamps. I do wipe my hands in between. And for me, the only reason I do that is experience tells me if I don't, I'll get ink on here, which will go on here. Then we'll need that emergency butterfly. So that's the only reason I am and I try and be quite methodical. And also, I do clean my stamps after I've used them. I know some people don't. The train of thought is you don't need to. But the reason I do is if not, and I pick that up, I may get the ink off the stamp on my hand and then it could end up on my card. So that's one of the things. Now, both these cards I'm putting on 6x6 card blanks. So I've cut my card already, and so it's a 14 centimetre square, but I know you like it in inches. So it's 5.5 inches square. And it's just a nice size because I find if I'm cutting an A4 sheet down, I can get two of these out of an A4 sheet. So as I say, we'll start with this design. And I'm thinking, just because this is a male-orientated card, let's make it still nice, bright colours. Sort of, I'm thinking either that's the summer feel. You could introduce a little bit of brown, make it more autumnal. And we'll use a technique we've used many times, and that's with the masking. So I'm just going to come in with my tape. And as I've told you before, I use Sticks 2 or Sweet Poppy stencil tape, but I always write on the inside which tape I'm using, just because I'd hate to pick up the wrong tape by mistake. And I'm just going to go round and make myself a frame. And again, it's nice to do a technique we've done before. And we'll let's just add this across here. There we go. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use 3 colours. Now, I'm going to use my oxides, just because, again, they're what I've got on my desk. So what I thought about this is I'll just say, I suddenly remember it's a friend's birthday and I haven't made him a card. What would I do? So, well, apart from maybe scream, panic, obviously I wouldn't swear. So, and I'm going to start with just some stencil brushes, just because I want a nice little bit of colour. I don't want the colour too much to start off with. I could brayer my background, but I'm thinking, just let's keep it nice and simple. And again, with these, don't over ink. And I'm just slightly going side to side here, and I'm starting in the middle. A lot of people think you need to blend from the outside, but this is just so lovely. We'll just do a little bit. And I know, who was it? Polly said, sometimes I make it look easy. Honestly, this really is easy. This is no skill required. You just go in side to side. Just going to alter that light a little bit. I don't know if it's casting too much of a shadow. And I'm going to come in now with spiced marmalade. Now my pad's quite a dry pad, but it means I can go round the yellow and it's almost going to blend it in. So it's almost an introduction to my orange. You get to know your pads. I think I use, as you probably know, orange is my favourite colour, so spiced marmalade's been used rather a lot. And then this burning bonfire, or crackling campfire as it's properly known. But you know me, you know the way my head works. And I'm just going to ink a little bit round the edge. And in fact, I'm going to get rid of my brush and bring my smoothie in, I think. And what I'm going to do is actually start in the corner and then drag some ink in. And I'm always inking up on the corners because I want my corners deeper. I'm not coming in very far. Again, ink up on the corner. Like I said, I'm not coming in very far. Turn it round. I just find it easier to turn my work all the way round. There we go. And then what I can do is blend this ink a little bit more. And you'll find you'll be able to pick up the ink off your masking tape. And do watch, because you will get it on your fingers off your masking tape. So again, I will be wiping them. And then what I want to do now, where those colours join, I'm going to come back in with that spiced marmalade. Just to sort of blend, so I've got a nice blend. And then I think I'll just a little bit more yellow going across. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So just put my lids on again. For me, it's always important to put your lids on as soon as you can. Again, that just helps with this almost this thing of trying to keep as clean as we can. And I'm just going to wipe my fingers. There's nothing really on here, but as you notice, I do try and keep everywhere sort of nice and clean. And so we've just got that lovely background. Now, I've got to be honest, you could flick water now, but I'm thinking I'm going to do my stamping next. And the reason I'm going to do that is the stamping is easier if it's going on the clean without the water. Obviously, if I put my water on, I'm going to have to make sure it's properly dry to stamp. So for me, I'd rather do it this way. And I'm going to use a permanent ink, so that's fine. So this one's called the Small Fairy Fir Tree. And again, if I'm not sure where I want it, that's where I'm going to have my card. I can just use, you could just have one. But even if, I mean, you can see there, it's not a perfect blend. Once we add the water flicks, honestly, that will just, it's a great way of practicing your blending this. So we'll just ink our stamp up, and I'm using the black and the VersaFine Clair. And again, any I get on my block, I just wipe off. Again, it's for me, it's really important to just keep everything as clean as possible. And again, I'm going to stamp sideways. So I'm going to start with this one here. You know what I'm like, I have to stamp sideways, I just find it easier. Now, although this is a masculine card, obviously you could make it, introduce some foliage, some flowers, but I think it's nice to do a masculine card that isn't sort of the obvious. I do feel sorry for men sometimes because they must get the same. I mean, have you ever gone to, dare I say, you probably don't tell me off, but a card shop? And the cards, I mean, it's worse for me. Carl's birthday, my husband, is December. So years ago, before I started making cards, trying to find a birthday card in December, well, that's one of the reasons I started making my own. So that's my first generation, and I'm just going to do a second generation there. Just see, I'm not sure how much ink will be left. But yes, so that's one reason I started, because, and again, the choice was either football, red wine, beer. I mean, I think now there's more choice, but I think trees are lovely for men's cards, I must admit. I mean, if you've been doing your reflection, if you did the video on reflections, you could do a lovely reflection card for a man. So there wasn't much ink left on there, but that's fine. What we'll do is we'll just stamp another, we'll just come down a bit here. Just want a nice group of trees. Now I think, because that reflection hasn't quite worked, let's just stamp one reflection. I mean the second generation. Let's just put one coming off there. And again, you'll find this, just alter your design to suit how you... Yeah, I much prefer that. And just with that in the background. So I'll just clean my stamp. And then we're going to put this little mushroom, toadstool, I'm not sure, is it mushroom, toadstool, mushroom, I think. And I'm just going to put him here, just so I've got something in this corner. I just think it needs something down there. And again, he's one of the pound stamps. As you know, I adore the pound stamps. Now I just want to put him so he's just fractionally above. And again, because I'm using the permanent ink, just give him a minute to, there we go. Now what I'll do is I'll just turn that over and give it a bit of a blot. And then my fan brush is in my water pot. So this is where I'm just going to come in. And again, because this is permanent ink, we won't move that at all. Now I'm just going for an arty look in the background. Obviously this is the finished one to show you, just while that faux bleaches. Now obviously you could, we could have put a moon mask in, we could have put hills in, but I just thought for this, leave it with that arty look, because sometimes we don't want a scene. Our next card, we're going to make more of a scene, but this, I just wanted that nice arty square. And again, it's so nice just to do different techniques, isn't it, and different cards. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a blot, see how it's doing. And I'll just have a little sip of water. I have to say, I don't know what your weather's like today. We've got rain today, which is nice. I must admit, I'm quite glad, because my garden really needs it. The lawns are very dry, and my laurel hedge needs some water. So I'm quite pleased. Right, now that's nearly dry. Obviously, you could leave it longer. You could just leave that to one side. But because we're doing this together, I want to take the tape off. Now, remember my little tip? So I'm going to get my heat tool. That what we're doing here is we've got two uses. One, I'm just drying that a little, but also I'm just helping that low tack tape. I know this tape's going to peel off, no problem. But if you just get used to just doing that, because if your tape was a bit sticky, remember my tip, it's going to peel off a lot easier. So it's always worth doing that. And if you get in the habit of doing it, I mean, look, this is peeling off itself, isn't it? And another little tip, just give your hands a bit of a wipe before you start peeling your tape off, just in case you've got any ink on them. You don't want splodges on that lovely white border that you've got. Because what you have to remember is the permanent ink will take longer to dry on the tape. And there we go. How nice, quick and easy was that? Now, if you want, you can add some white highlights. You can, but I think it just looks nice like that. And I'm going to leave mine like that. And I've left a space here. So depending what sentiment I want to put, I've left space for quite a nice sentiment there. I mean, again, you could change your colours, but I think this is just almost that lovely warm sunset or sunrise. I'm not sure which, but I think it's one of them. So that's my first little idea for you. And the second one, we're just going to do this again. Same thing, it's a 5.5 and we're going on a 6 square. And I've purposely left again room here if you wanted to add a sentiment. I mean, again, you could put it up here or down here. But again, I've gone for a design which you know, it could be get well, it could be birthday, but there's also room if the recipient say particularly liked foxes. You could stamp one of the foxes here, couldn't you? So again, you can tailor it. I'm giving you the start of the design and you can tailor it to exactly how you need. We'll get our piece of card. And like I say, these don't take long, do they? I mean, you could batch card make these and then you'd have a few in ready. And we're going to use one of the trees. Now, I think this one could be Tree of Hope, I think. Well, I could use a pun and say I hope it is, but that would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? I'm going to start by doing my stamping first. And again, there's a lot of detail on this stamp, but me being me, I do manage to over ink the stamp, so I just need to clean some of this off. So thank you very much for allowing me to come into your home today. It's nice to just spend time with you. Are you managing to get much crafting done? I know a few ladies have messaged to say that the mojo's gone at the minute, which is understandable with everything that's gone on in the world. But I think, you know, hopefully there might be something here that makes you think, just have a go at a couple of toppers. It's like this, you don't need a lot. I mean, we used 3 ink pads, we could use just 2 if you wanted on the last card. There's not a lot to it, is there? Now again, I'm stamping sideways and I love this tree. Now there's a lot of detail on this tree. So I'm using my All and Create block, which again, you can just flex. So hopefully we don't want to miss any of that detail. But you know what? If I do, I will just draw it in with my fine liner. Because sometimes these things happen. Sometimes we do miss a bit when we're inking up. We maybe lift it off too quick. It happens to all of us. And we just get round it. And I think that's the beauty of being a crafter. You know, I'm not a professional artist. I'm not I'm going to say professional anything. Just a crafter who enjoys what I do. There we go. And that stamped really well. You know, that in itself, I do think if you needed a sympathy card, almost you'd have the basics of, you know, the basis of a sympathy card there. Some lovely words there. I think that's all you would need. So I'm going to stamp my owl next, and I think this is Broadwin. But I say I think, because you know me, I tend to rename things in my head. It's the way my head works. And again, I just want to catch. So I'm thinking here looks nice, sort of over here at an angle there. Now you could almost leave this card as a black and white design. And again, I think monochromatic for male cards works really well. Now this is a silhouette, so again, give it just time for all that ink to soak in. There we go. Again, just beautiful. Now what I am going to do, just with my fine liner, I just want to carry this little Oh, that one doesn't appear to be working. Have I got another one? Do you ever do that? Do you ever pick a pen up and then, let's see if this one's working. That's better. I just want to add a couple of, just to extend that a little. There we go. Not too much. Got a box of pens next to my desk and wow, so many. I tend to just throw them in it. Now, what I didn't do, because the fine liner put me off, just give it a blot, especially the silhouette bit. Do you ever do that? Do you ever lose train of thought halfway through? I do. So, for me, to colour this trunk, I find the easiest way, and I'm just taking an ink pad, and this one is ground espresso, and it's the oxide. And for me, it's the easiest way. I've got some water pot at the side, and I've got my brush, and I'm just going to literally paint, watercolour paint, some colour onto this tree. And for me, this is the quickest and the easiest way to just add colour. Now, I just need a finer brush here. And again, I've got a piece of tissue in my hand just in case there's any. And what you'll find is that it's quite delicate up here. And I'm going over the whole thing because I'm going to come in a minute with my pencils and just add a bit more shade. So just almost, it's a wash over the whole area first. And it doesn't matter if it's lighter or a bit darker in places, because actually you're going to be adding that to your tree. And a little tip, when you've got fine areas, if you twist, I don't know if you can see this, if you twist your paintbrush, just before you use it, you get a nice point on your paintbrush. So I just want to catch these nice fine bits here. There we go. And then what I want to do with my larger brush, and almost just a bit, I'm adding a bit more water because I want this to be lighter. I'm just going to extend almost a bit of shadow here. Just to extend that area. Nothing too fancy, just a light, and then a bit more water so it's lighter still, and just drag it out like that. Now I'm going to leave that a minute. I need that in a minute. What I'm going to do next is I want to add a little bit of blue just around here. So I've got these moon masks, the circle masks, and I'm going to use the smaller one. And for those of you who are new, I always put a little dot. This is just a red Posca pen, because I do find when I put these on my desk with them being see-through, I lose them. So I find it easier just if I put a little dot on for me. And again, you know, if you don't need to, that's great. It's just, you know, it works for me, so I like to pass it on. Now again, sorry, excuse me, moon mask, you could put anywhere. You could pop it in the tree. I just think it looks nice around the owl. I think it balances it up beautifully. Now you could use a larger one, but for me I thought it was too large. So I'm going to pop it there. And obviously it's important that we did blot the owl so we don't smudge that ink. Always take your ink onto your acetate first and then gently flick outwards. And this is quite a well-used ink pad, but even so it's important to always go onto the mask first. And we're just going to go all the way around. It's better to just build it up. If you want a little bit more, back into your ink pad and back onto the mask. Honestly, if you've ever gone straight off and it's too dark, that is a little lesson in itself, and you sort of learn not to do that. Now, I don't want this too strong, so if I lift it up, I just need a little bit more at the bottom, but that's fine. And another important thing, obviously I've got ink on here, so I always wipe that straight away, because otherwise, next time I pick it up, I'll get ink on my fingers, and then that could be ink on my work. So I try where I can to just get in the routine of almost nice clean crafting. Now the next bit, now you could leave it like that, but I want to add a little bit of ink around the edge. Like I say, if you're happy with it like that, you could leave it like that. I mean, I think it looks lovely in itself, but for me, I just want to blend a little bit of ink around the edge. So same colour, again, tissue under your hand, just helps to protect your work. And again, always ink up in the corners because that's where it's going to be darker. Again, ink up in the corner, round the bottom, turn your work, ink up in that corner, round that side, and the last one, again, ink up in that corner. And I'm not coming in very far, I just want to frame my work. And for me, that just frames, but I've left this area. I still want it to be quite clean and simple, but I want it to frame the area. Again, put your lid on. And this ink here I've left for a reason. And that's because I want to add a few little ink splats. I don't want many. So I just want to come in with that and just add a few. And that's enough. In fact, that one's quite a big one. We'll just dab that one. And then at this point again, just clean. Now again, you could leave it like that if you wanted, but I just want to add a little bit more detail to my tree. And what I'm going to do is I've got one of my pastel, so it's the Stabilo chalk pastel pencils, and this is just one of the darker brown ones. And just down this side of the tree where I'll have shade, because we've got the moon there, I'm just going to add, you know, just because it's a man's card, we mustn't shortchange them. They still want some nice detail. And again, in the V of the branches, that will be darker. If I turn it round, can you still see? So again here, Tracy has shown us in the artwork where we need those darker bits. I'm just going to smudge it with my finger, and there's a darker bit. There we go. And that to me just adds that extra depth. And also on the tree, I'm going to add a little bit of gold, the Signo pen, just a little bit. It won't be too bright, won't be too sort of gold in your face. But again, just because it's a man's card, a masculine card, doesn't mean I'm not, you know, adding glitter and lots of, but just I want to catch a little bit of highlight, you know, from the moon. So again, you could gold or silver, just wanted to catch just a little bit, look, not too much, but just to add to the quality of the design. And then the last little thing, want to add some, I can go round my moon with my white chalk pencil. Except I've just, can you see what I've done? I've just merrily smudged that, but never mind. We'll go with that. Let's just colour that in. Looks like I've got a comet flying, doesn't it? So I'm just going to add a bit of highlight. Now again, you could use a white pen for this. I just like to use my pastel pencil because I find them more forgiving. So note to self, next time, just check this is dry before you start smudging. But you know what, I think we can get away with that. I think we're all right with that. If this one really upset me, I'd put my sentiment there. So what I will do is get my heat tool out. Give it a bit of a blot. And again, whenever you're drying, always dry from the back. I think it shows quite a bit of movement round there. What I will do, because I've done that and it's given me the idea, because it looks like there's movement, I'm just going to add a couple of black movement line, so it looks like the wings are flapping. So like I say, if something happens, just go with it. So there we go. So for me, I've got movement here. And what you can do is just, we'll emphasise it, add a bit of white, make it look like we've really got movement. So that's my second design. And again, that didn't take long. But as I say, if you wanted, you could introduce a hedgehog down here. I'm just giving you the basis for if you wanted an idea for a masculine type card. I mean, I do think this tree is so useful. And again, they are quite big stamps. I've used them a lot in workshops and we tend to use the two together, but that ends up going on an 8x8 card. And I know often that's a big design. Not everybody wants to do big designs. So hopefully these, so there's the one I've just created and there's the one I'd already done. So again, in fact, if anything, I think we've got more depth on the tree here. I do think this looks like it should be out of a storybook. So that's those two. And if I bring in our other tree one, well, that's the one we did today. Again, I've left a space there for a lovely sentiment. Now, if you didn't want to put the mushrooms here, you could put, say you wanted to put a hedgehog. Again, tailor it to the individual. I always think it's nice if you can. And then don't forget the one I mentioned, the split scene stamping, as another idea for you to have a go at. So I hope you like all these ideas. And the good thing is here, I've now got 2 extra toppers, look, which I can put on 2 more cards in my little box of ones for emergencies. As I say, for the ones where it's somebody's birthday and I suddenly realise I've forgotten. So, thank you for joining me today. I've probably been on a bit longer than I normally am, so I do apologise for that. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're keeping well. Thank you for all your comments, and it's lovely that you actually comment on each other's. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. So you take care, everybody. I'll come back in a couple of days, hopefully with another little get-together, because let's face it, we all need a brew and a cheeky biscuit, don't we? An excuse for maybe coffee cake and a catch-up. So you take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Much love and hugs. Bye for now.